Welcome to DorkDate Podcast.
Podcast edition. We're doing a podcast. So we're technically, I guess, discussing My Hero Academia Season 2. But I think
are
we're
we? I just meant
discussing it
the whole
overall.
thing.
Okay, yeah. So we just finished My Hero Academia Season 2.
Yeah,
and
which is
we're
why
gonna
we're doing this.
just talk about our thoughts. No specific theme, I don't think.
And I don't think there will be, very many spoilers or anything. I don't want to do, episode by episode or, reveal anything huge.
Yeah, nor do I really want to go back over the plot as much as possible.
Yeah, and there's not really, it's not, a very spoilerific show either. It's not, if I said, I guess if you didn't want to know, who had what powers, then don't listen, maybe?
Yeah, but, a lot of the stuff is pretty much revealed to you, the audience member. There's secrets from the characters, but...
Yeah.
So anyway, My Hero Academia. We both like it a lot. I think that's pretty obvious. It's a very popular new anime.
Uh-huh. It reminds me a lot of, Naruto. But, the fun parts of Naruto,
it's
the tuning exams
yeah.
and everything like that. It's just, different variations on that. They have, Kid Olympics, basically, and that's really cool, but it's, superhero themed, Well, obviously, everything is.
I like how in this show, I want to talk about the whole tuning exam aspect, but I like how in the show, they are presented as young teenagers.
Yeah.
And they look like young teenagers.
Yeah.
And they, for the most part, act like young teenagers, too.
Yeah.
Because, in a show like Bleach, they're all supposed to be 15 at the start of the show, and they all look like very fit, attractive 20-year-olds. Or,
yeah, you can definitely tell that they're kids. Even, the main character and stuff, you see his, body develop, but even when he gets, older and stuff, he still looks very young.
Yeah, that's something I like, too. It's a show. This is really a stylistic choice.
And, even if he gets, a little bit stronger, it still, it fits how someone that age with that, body type would look getting stronger.
Yeah, now, I think physique is kind of a stylistic choice. If you look at something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the main character, who is, 18, is, like Arnold Schwarzenegger level of physique. And that's, the guys are hyper-masculine in that show.
Yeah.
At least their physiques are. There's actually...
Well, and that's, All Might,
Yeah, but All Might is literally the strongest person in the world, and so it's, a nice pass when it has, But
it's interesting, too, because, I've heard people talk who, are that buff, saying, oh, yeah, I'm not really that strong. I look strong, but it's, and, yes, I could lift a lot, but, if you set me out in the wild, I wouldn't be able to survive. It's not...
Well, it's that classic video of, the mountain versus that...
Or,
arm wrestler.
A lot of bodybuilders try and go on, Ninja Warrior and stuff, and they all do terrible.
Well, because, yeah.
Because they don't, they're building up specific muscles to look a certain way.
Well, and they're also building muscles to do specific tasks.
Yes.
Deadlifts. Benching, whereas anyway, getting off topic, but I do appreciate to a certain degree the physiques in the show. The same subject, I kind of like how the women are represented in the show because again they're young women and they're not most of them. Okay, so some of them. So Momo is I think the red flag here. She's drawn in her outfit's very sexual, provocative, sure, and she's drawn in a kind of sexualized way. But
definitely.
Being that it's only one character, I think that's almost free pass because there are some people who develop different.
Even. What's her name? Uraraka.
Yeah, what about her?
She just,
Is she too curvaceous or something?
Yeah, whereas the males of this age, most of them look like how they should look. The women of this age do not look like how they should look. There are rarely women of this age that are, that curvy.
So they're all freshmen, right?
Yeah.
And I'm only... give me a second.
Well, and, outlier number 2 on the man side, this baby dude. What's his name?
Well, yeah, but... fuck. It's late, so we're bad at names. I'm sorry. But he's the purple guy. Mineta.
Froppy is more, of a realistic... how most women would look at this age. And even if they get more curvaceous,
Does she look that curvaceous to you?
Yeah.
She's chesty,
Not
I
even,
guess,
so we have our computer background.
Yeah, we're actually looking at it,
so we're looking at
pretty
it. Pretty
helpful.
But, yeah. But, in the show and stuff, they present her a lot chestier.
Yeah.
And, even if you, get that way, you're normally not starting out that chesty. Well, some people are, but so again, it's more of, an outlier kind of thing.
But I think it's okay. I think it's not...
No,
ridiculous.
yeah, they're not being she's covered up still.
Not that she needs to be,
not
but
that
I get what
she
you're
needs
saying.
to be,
For a child, she
but
probably
for
should be.
Momo and stuff, her outfit is very much more.
It's literally the shortest skirt conceivably possible, even so much.
It's not even the skirt; her belt is covering.
Yeah, and then she's some sort of crotch covering going on.
Well, crotch covering.
Well, I'm just assuming she has. We never Like if
She's
she was
not
wearing,
just going underwearless.
well, I don't know. You never see. Oh, okay. I guess
You're getting weird with it.
What I'm not getting weird with it. You're making it weird. I just pictured. I guess it seems as if there's nothing below that. You think they'd have like some shorts there or something like that. Like she needs everything uncovered because of her ability. Her skin needs to be exposed.
Yeah,
but...
totally. She needs that.
So that seems pretty crappy because like look at Midnight. Remember her? She's the one of the
she
teachers.
looks like Baby Midnight.
Sure, but Midnight's got the same thing where her skin has to be exposed, but they gave her an outfit that at least lets her abilities still work through the outfit.
Mm-hmm.
But hers is like a pheromone or something. So
didn't they even in like a very recent episode talk about how like the ladies were getting too like revealing, so they made them like tone it down?
I think they were talking about how Midnight was originally like there was a backlash for how scandalous because she basically came out naked in the old in her debut. Which is like, yeah.
Was it like just there's backlash so they chose that, or was it like they made them do that?
Well, when I said backlash, I mean in universe.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't think
because they were like on a panel or something.
Yeah, and it was her and Mount Lady. I think that probably it was sort of like a legal issue. Like you can only be so exposed.
Oh, because they're like hired by a company.
Yeah.
And stuff
so
like
or was like for business purposes.
But I like that they talk about that.
So
and stuff.
yeah, I mean, like I said, like
there's a lot of like little under the radar things that they say that are very interesting. Like that. But also in the very beginning, they talk about how like humans would have like done space travel or stuff if this didn't happen.
Yeah, but now they've got something else completely focused on. It completely redirects for society, and I think that's kind of what's developing everybody's ideals on like how to handle quirks. I think that's pretty cool because like Stain obviously has a huge opinion of it, and then like many of the characters all kind of have their own idea of like, oh, you know, it's bad, or whatever. I mean, not it's bad. Like there's bad guys, and we should be on the side of justice. And then who's the other guy? Igaraki, the evil dude who's got the dissolving power. The head of the villain association.
The hand dude?
Well, not the head. Yeah, the hand dude. The hand guy who's got all the hands on him. He just got his his ideals set in the last episode. That was him basically. Yeah. And I don't really remember what they were. I think it was like basically I want to let people know that they're not safe in the society and like it's all kind of a false veil. And like
spoiling.
We just talked about we're not going to worry about spoilers.
But we also kind of talked about how we weren't going to spoil.
That
was my message that I sent out.
Sorry, spoiler warning. So anyway, I like how, you know, we're at a point in this universe where the world is still sort of coping with quirks, because I think the way they presented it is that when quirks came out, there was like a huge need for him because like there was tons of people who were villain and stuff like that. Also, One for All, which is something they talked about, or All for One.
Yeah, but that didn't come at very first. That came later.
Yeah, but it was early on, basically, and they talked about how there was no time for society to really handle like the hero aspect. They were just needed. They filled a need, and I think now that they're kind of on the second generation of heroes, because like All Might was one of the first. It's like,
and they talk about having like still developing the law around people and stuff, and like they don't know how to handle heroes like intervening and stuff, so they have like certain laws set around that too. Like you have to be like registered and have like your quirk registered so they know exactly who you are and what you can do.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too that the heroes can't actually arrest somebody. They can like intervene and stop somebody, but like then the police have to actually handle it. Yeah. And that's pretty interesting too.
So they got a lot of cool like little tidbits that let you into like how the world works. So it's pretty good about that.
Definitely.
Do you want to talk more about parts of the show, or
I want to go back real quick to the way the characters are represented.
Okay.
Just a little bit. So like I love the design of the characters too. I think they all have really cool costumes. I think they're all pretty unique and stuff like that.
Very unique.
I like how
I'm always surprised by how unique the show is. Like they're coming up with all of these little trial things all of the time and like different exam ideas.
Well, so I want to talk to you
and
about
also
that,
like everyone has like a cool unique power.
Yeah.
It's not just like well, I was about to say it's not just like, hey, I'm invisible, but they do have someone who's
invisible. They have the tropish ones. Like,
yeah. But they have really cool ones. Like, Grape Dude, what's up with him?
Yeah, I don't like him, but I think his power is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then they have Earbuds Girl.
It's not
what a fun power.
Grapes,
whatever, Minetta. But she can just put her shit, like, in her knee. That's cool.
They got a lot of really cool
and I like
things.
how not everybody's power is, like, focused on being super, like, powerful. They have, they specifically have, like, support things set up, like gravity.
I do wish that like going forward, one of my wishes for the show is that one, we see more of the 1B class because they talk about how they can, if they do good in certain events, like the Olympic thing that they had. I don't know what they call it in there. I'm calling it Olympics.
It was called just the sports festival.
Oh, they talked about how if they did better than some of the 1A people in there, then they could take their spot in the class.
I don't remember that at all.
You don't remember that?
I don't even remember them saying anything specific about 1A being better than 1B. I thought it was just the order of the class.
I don't think so.
I know, I'm almost positive.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, why are you being rude about it? I'm almost positive.
Because you're always saying that.
And I'm usually right when I say I'm almost positive.
No. You're usually 90% wrong
so wait,
when you say you're almost
Are you saying
positive.
that class 1B is from the very beginning ranked lower?
Yes.
I don't think that's true.
I do.
Okay. No, I disagree with that. And I think that part of the thing they're talking about is how they're always saying 1A gets so much more focus because they're so much more famous, and they're always making the big shows. And like, oh, you guys did really good at the sports festival, and everybody knows you. And oh, you guys had to fight real villains. Look at you.
The whole thing about the sports festival was that, like, if you get beaten too bad, like, they rank you and stuff. If you get beaten too bad, then you might lose your spot in 1A.
I don't think it's lose your spot in 1A. I think it's lose your spot in the school.
So now you're going back and saying, okay, you're right, but it's in the school. You just get kicked out of the school.
I wasn't refuting the fact that you could lose, like that like if you did really bad, you might not be able to continue. I was talking about the fact that there's no ranking difference between 1A and 1B. Or I mean, I might say that 1A could be more skilled of a class. I'm not sure. I haven't seen much of 1B, but I'm not by any means saying that because you're in 1A it means you're a better student. Or
I think it was.
I'm mostly sure it's not. But we can actually pause and look it up right now if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's be right back.
Okay, we're back. We have found out some information at the very beginning. Everyone was split up normal, and on the wiki that I read, it said that 1B, in certain aspects, like exams and stuff like that, has been shown to be better. They've been doing better. Like only one of theirs failed one exam, whereas 5 in 1A failed part of that exam or something. But I didn't find out anything about the Hero Festival, and it's super late, so we're going to look it up later.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? I don't remember this before. I did want to talk more about the character designs. Anyway, so I like that most of the students and kids have their own unique designs. I like the hairstyles are so unique. I like that they have their own color schemes, stuff like that. I think that their costumes are so cool. I also like that the costumes appear to have some utility, too, because, like, it's not like a lot of shows where you basically have powers and you better get around with that. Yeah. Like, you know, they have...
And it's cool that they all had to design their costumes.
Yeah, that's fun. But they also had, like, designs and stuff that aid their abilities. Yeah. That's pretty cool, too. And then as far as character designs go, there's obviously some that are, like, tropish. Like, Momo is the classic chesty anime girl. That's just a thing. Mineta is, like, stupidly... You know, he's a gag character. I appreciate
that they're giving her more depth, though. And that's something that we talked about when we talked about this in our Cuphead playthrough. Is that, like... Because we had just watched the one where they started giving her development and stuff. And, like, I appreciate that they're giving... I assume that they'll get around to every character, but... each character their own like little bit of backstory, at least, you know.
I mean, everybody so far has a little bit of so most people, I mean, a lot of people don't, but like
there's just so many characters you can't.
Uraraka has her family's pretty poor, and oh god, what's his name? Ali McBeal, Wheels, the Beals, the fast guy, I forget his name, I'm sorry guys. Oh yeah, Ingenium. But what's his real name?
I don't know. Anyway, what are you saying about him? Oh, he's got the whole brother thing.
Well, yeah, you know, and he's got his own character
and even before that, he had the whole, like, I need to do good for my family, I need to be as good as my brother kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got some serious motivations, and I appreciate that. And, you know, you see growth. You see the characters, even only 2 seasons, growth. Actually, grow. And some characters don't have that much. I'm excited,
though, because, like, they are clearly trying to give each character, like, their own, like, couple minutes of spotlight, you know?
Well,
and I'm
I mean,
excited for it to go. Yeah, and I'm excited for it to go on because then we'll get more of them.
Yeah, and you know the thing is, with such a large cast, some characters are going to definitely be backstory characters. Like that Naruto has like whole thing like Kiba. You never really see Kiba like get his own story, but whatever. So one thing you mentioned earlier is that you like how this has the classic, like fighting arcs and like the tuning exam style thing.
Yeah,
that's not just a Naruto thing. That's I don't know if you know that, but that like lots and lots of.
No, yeah, but this is like all of just only that. You know.
Well, but that's not that unique. Is what I'm trying to say. A lot of which is cool for you if you like that. Because a lot of shonen. I mean, these are battle manga necessarily.
Yeah, but I don't want it to just be like, oh, look, I'm fighting this guy. Because the things that I like about Naruto are not every other episode. It's 15 episode long fights.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, you can talk about the pacing. What I'm saying is that you like the fact that you get to see these characters' personalities, stuff like that. But you like to see, they display their powers and they go up against each other in unique ways. They have fun challenges.
But I think part of why I like that so much is because there's so many characters that there's something new for me every time. Whereas Naruto was very like kind of limiting itself in that way. Like at the very beginning, like the tuning exams were fun for me because of that. You do find out like what each person is good at. Yeah,
because like you don't see anything about Neji or Lee or Hinata, but you kind of start to know until like that
and you
stage.
Find out about like people from other places, you know, and then that's cool and whatever. And this feels like a lot like that, and I love that they are giving you just little pieces of each person. Yeah, and then more and more as it goes on.
Definitely.
And then they already set you up with, hey, there's other people too, like with 1B and like the support people.
And this is only in Japan. Think about it. There's a whole worldwide full of people with quirks.
That's true.
So yeah, I mean, I think that they've got a really cool world to play in at this point, you know. And something else I kind of touched on, but I want to say again, restate, is that I really like the time period they chose. Not the modern day, that's whatever, but I like the fact that they chose a generation after quirks formed. Because I think designing something like this, it would be very easy to say, oh, I'm one of the first people with powers. How are we handling this? You know, and that's an interesting time period too. But this is cool. There's already this established world, and they're not like fully established, but they're figuring out rules still and stuff like that. It's a fun time to experience. You know, because
in the manga they have like the between chapter thingies,
like the info little tidbits.
Yeah, and one of them is about the creator whose name I don't know. And sorry,
we're not very prepped for this.
No, and. He basically said like he wanted to create something about like the development of a hero and like starting out as a hero and becoming powerful rather than already being powerful like All Might. But I mean like he still has like a character like that, but it's kind of cool because it's like birth of one, death of another.
Yeah, definitely, and that's cool. Like passing the torch. It's very Spider-Man.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, like that, like in the way you talk about it. Like a lot of the Spider-Man comics are him learning about how to being a hero.
Oh, okay.
Like compared to something like Superman or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I think I remember reading that the creator of this manga really likes American comics, and that makes sense if you look at people like All Might and Endeavor and stuff like that. You know, I mean, All Might is literally American, I think.
Texas.
Yeah,
what is it?
That was corny in the beginning, but I'm actually learning to like it.
No,
so
I'm not.
It's fun.
I'm not into it.
But like All Might is so classically positively represented America, you know. Yeah. I'm boisterous and I'm kind of
I wish
doofy.
America was like that.
America has aspects of All Might.
Just like very nice. And, like,
yeah, All Might's too nice. Yeah. So we're kind of going. Let's talk about quirks.
Okay.
Because quirks is a big part of the show, and quirks are basically superpowers. But I like how everybody has kind of like their own unique fingerprint of a quirk, and there's like some that other people have similar versions of, but like.
I don't really get it though, because they talk about how like if you're born to two people with a quirk, you're gonna get one of their quirks or like a mix of them.
I think it's like a mutation. I think it's random. Like yeah.
But like they've talked about that before.
I don't mean like fully random, but I mean like it's not always set in stone.
And it would be boring for it to turn out being like eye color. You know.
Like where it mixes.
No, like, oh, your mom has brown eyes, so you have brown eyes.
But eye color is kind of polygenic. That's why you get hazel eyes and stuff. Same with hair color and stuff.
Oh, fine.
Or like skin color specifically. But like I think that's kind of cool. But like look at Todoroki.
I like the idea. Yeah, that's true. I like the idea so much more of it being like completely random. You know.
Like Yeah, but I also like the idea of kind of there's like a...
But I do like Todoroki, but it's sad looking at his family because he's clearly the purebred of the family, whereas everyone else is just
not
mutts.
Really purebred. He's like a crossbreed. He's literally a mutt. He's half and half. But he's like
Do you get my analogy?
I
or
do,
are you
but
going to
explain...
just be nitpicky?
I'm not being nitpicky. I'm trying to make it clear for whoever would be listening. Because he's not
the
actually
fire
purebred.
and ice one.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Todoroki's the one who's Endeavor's son. And he... spoilers, I guess. Endeavor basically bred a perfect hero and he married a woman who has ice powers, and he basically had kids with her until he got one that had full mastery over fire and ice. And
it's cute kind of when you see their family. It reminds me of cats. When you see the family, like, they'll have, like, because he has perfectly split down the middle red hair and white hair on either side. Showing and then his family will have, like one little patch of white in all of the red.
Yeah,
or like swirly and, like...
Yeah. It's pretty cute.
Yeah. and they all have like very weak of like whatever they have like a little bit of.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was cool too. And they're basically just like trash. It reminded me a lot of like feudal times or like medieval times when like you'd marry someone for power.
Yes.
Like he very clearly like married for that, and then he tried to have a son. Although it doesn't really matter that it's a son. It just matters that this person has like he can be the heir to his throne. And in this way, the heir is not being a male; it's being an heir to his powers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was
well, and it wasn't even like I want you to have my powers. It was I want you to have better powers than All Might. He wants him to be the #1 hero.
Yeah, definitely. And that's interesting too. I think Endeavor's a cool character because Endeavor's like a prick, obviously.
Yeah.
And like you could even argue that he's kind of evil in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also a hero. He's the #2 hero. He's an effective person at saving lives.
He's like the classic like Hollywood jock, you know, like how jocks are portrayed
but like
in movies.
I would say a little bit
like douchey, but like everyone loves them because they do football things.
Yeah, I guess like in that sense, but I think in motivations it's different because like a jock is like I like being good because I like being good, you know. But like he feels I guess that was kind of not like I like being good because I like being good, but it feels like jocks in movies I guess presented to me as kind of absent. Jock is kind of presented absent-mindedly, like they're kind of just like oh I'm good so this is my life, whereas Endeavor feels so
like
driven.
The stupid way.
Yeah, you know I get what you're saying though. You know who Endeavor reminds me of a little bit? Bakugo.
Okay.
They're both powerful.
Yeah, but I feel like Bakugo is like from day one you know he's gonna be evil. Like that's not revealed or anything. That's not a spoiler. But
no, but like I just talked about how I think Endeavor's a little bit evil too.
Yes, but I think that he is like
villainous. Bakugo's villainous.
Yes.
Sure, that's like fine. But I also could see like.
Do you think it has something to do with their quirks because they both have like fire related quirks? Bakugo does explosions. Do you think it's like a play on hot-headedness?
Yeah, I as far as like a writing thing, sure, definitely. I think that makes sense. As far as like an actual in-universe relation, maybe that'd be kind of cool.
Because we don't really know anyone else that has that, right?
Yeah.
And like, what's his name? Todoroki.
Well, actually, didn't Izuku's dad breathe fire? Didn't his mom say that? She mentioned that once.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Midoriya's.
I don't know that.
I think his mom mentioned that because she can do like very weak telekinesis, and I think he mentioned that his dad can breathe fire.
I don't remember that at all.
I think I do.
Todoroki is the guy's son.
Fire and Ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of hot-headed too, but he's like very like.
He's balanced.
He's balanced, but like even in the beginning when he had his whole arc, he was very like no and like kind of hot-headed like that, but he was also like very internalizing it.
Which is kind of
because
what
he was being cool.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm headcanoning that.
Sure, I know. I mean, that seems kind of cool. And then I guess like, I mean, a lot of their powers kind of fit their personality too. Like, man, I really wish I could remember your name, Ingenium, because that's not his name. But
Markiplier.
Yeah, Markiplier. We made a joke about him looking like Markiplier a lot.
Well, that's just what I call him.
But he, he's kind of driven and like machine-like in his pursuits and stuff like that, and that kind of fits with his whole aesthetic.
Yeah, that's true. And then
Ida. His name's Ida.
Yeah, Tenzin.
And his brother's name is
not Tenzin.
No, his brother's name is Tensei, but that means genius in Japanese.
Who's Tenzin?
From Korra.
Yes.
Tenzin. Anyway, yeah, their powers are cool. I think that they're very unique. I think that there's some tropish ones, obviously, and I think there's some unique ones. Like Froppy, awesome. She's a fucking frog person, and like that's.
Maybe this is a thing we're stumbling onto because like Uraraka kind of ditzy, kind of floaty.
I would say that she's not heavy in the fact that she's not like her character's not dramatic. I wouldn't say she's ditzy. She's pretty intelligent. She's pretty like with it.
Yeah, but she's also very like. I don't know.
I wouldn't say ditzy. She's not usually forgetful or anything like that. She's not usually like what?
But she's presented as like a
light, easy character.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
I
but
guess
I don't know.
I don't think ditzy's the right word either. But like.
Yeah, definitely.
Happy-go-lucky. And Froppy's literally a frog.
Yeah, but she's pretty fun too. I like Froppy, and she doesn't have a crazy heavy backstory. And you know, maybe she does. We don't know about it.
And Midoriya's very accepting.
Yeah.
And he's accepting that power.
Maybe we're taking it too literally here. But I get what you're saying. Who
else is there that I can do that with?
Bakugo's a dick, and he's got explosive powers. I mean, that's like fine.
Well, that was the hothead thing.
Yeah, sure. You think on that.
Grape Guy's got balls, and he's very sexualizing everything.
He's shit, and I hate him so much.
You like to call him diaper baby.
Because he's fucking wearing a diaper. Are we talking? Are we saying that as if there's no reason I'm calling him diaper baby? He's trash. I dislike him so much. You know, and I'm normally okay with comic relief characters, but in a show where I actually like so much of the characters, he feels so out of place. He feels like, I don't know, man. He's got a weird lisp going on, which people with lisps, whatever, it's fine. But like,
you have friends with lisps.
Okay, it's fine. I'm not like dissing on that, but like, for comic purposes, the whole diaper aesthetic, the fact that his powers,
it's weird for me that he
pointless.
Does have kind of a diaper thing going, and he's like so sexualizing of things.
Yeah, it's just weird. He's like that pervy little character.
Yeah, like I'd be fine with him being pervy, but it's weird that they're also making him baby, like, you know.
I think that
that doesn't mesh with me.
So in a lot of anime, there is fan service, and I think that fan service is kind of like a necessary evil. Not necessary for it to be a good show, but I think that's just part of the territory. You know, you're gonna see scantily clad people in whatever. There's gonna be a beach episode, and that's okay. But like for a character like him, he has a peephole figured out in one of the episodes, and he's like his entire character, his entire dialogue is based on being a perv. In Bleach, has a character who's basically a teddy bear, and he's constantly pervy, and even he has some actual character weight and development. In My Hero Academia, when they're doing the second or third, whatever, the finals, you know, they have a moment where he finally finds out his motivation, and it's just to be liked by girls. His entire identity is a fucking joke, and I hate that so much.
I like it. I think he's funny, and I get that he's annoying, because he annoys me too. And I'm not like, oh, boys will be boys. I'm not like that.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny. And I think that it was cool when they did do his motivation thing, because it was like, oh, he's not just a perv to be a perv. That's like...
He is a pervy. That was what they said.
No, but it's not just like, oh, he's pervy. It's like, okay, this is actually like a driving force for him.
So he's really pervy. His motivation was, I want to be liked by girls.
Yeah.
That's like a shitty motivation to be a hero.
For someone his age.
I'm not arguing with the fact that that's a poor motivation.
For someone his age who looks like he does, he looks much younger than everyone else, who has this lisp, who talks funny, who whatever.
Uh-huh.
That is what you would want. You're clearly disliked. You're clearly different than the other boys, and
then why don't they present that at all? Because they don't present it. He's fully accepted by everybody in his class. But
he's not. They're all like, "Oh, hey, you're here," but like everyone else has like.
When have they ever made a statement about the fact that he's excluded or left out?
They haven't made a statement of that.
But
they haven't done that with anyone.
They have done that with everybody. Midoriya's entire first arc before he went to high school was the fact that...
Yeah, but they're not showing everyone else's, like, before here kind of thing. Because everyone's here because they deserve to be there.
Sure. Does he deserve to be here? One. And two, my point is that he had an entire episode devoted towards him and his motivations, and they chose, instead of actually adding depth...
It wasn't an entire episode, though.
Whatever, a portion of that episode at least. He had screen time devoted completely to him and his motivations. And instead of doing cool tape guy, who I love his power, they gave this guy. And in that opportunity, they feel like they squandered. They made more of a joke out of it. And they tried to spin it as like, oh, at least everybody has motivations. You have to have motivations to be here. But they're saying, like, your motivations can be pretty superficial.
Yeah, but I liked it. I don't know. I liked that it was, hey, it's not just he's pervy. He's not worthless. He's doing this because this is what he likes. This is his... I'm just reading more into it than you are.
I feel like I'm reading into it and I'm seeing that it's the same
like
message.
I'm seeing that, of course, he would want that.
To me, yeah, but of course he want that because there's no layers to his character, to me.
Well, but
I'm
saying, of course, he would want that because he has this deficit and that deficit.
But I think you're not just reading into it more. I think you're filling in those details that they have not given. Yeah. Anyway, it's a matter of opinion. But I dislike it. And, you know, there's, like I said, there's lots of gag characters in anime, and I'm okay. I sometimes think gag characters can be funny, you know? Sometimes I think that whatever, but in the show, it just feels...
Because I also really like the belly guy. He's funny.
He's funny. He's a completely human-based character, and he's not cringy, and he's just funny.
I like him more than this guy.
Yeah, he's goofy, because he just sits there and kind of trashing around, like, oh, I'd rather, my tummy hurts, I can't
My favorite was when he was, like, they were, like, fighting the villains or something at one point, and he was like, where was I? I was there. You don't know.
Yeah, but,
like, they never showed him.
His whole thing is just, like, cheeky smiling, and, like, you don't know where I was. Yeah,
and,
that's funny. That's funny to me. Anyway, it's fine. Whatever. I think I've also just been too oversaturated with, like, the weird, cringy... like pervy guy mechanic in like anime and TV
Yeah,
and stuff
okay.
like that.
And I basically have never
Yeah, I've been watching anime my entire
that.
life,
I'm
and
sure
I'm
that I
just-
would get sick of it too. This is just like my first encounter.
Well, the thing is, too,
Fully
when I was
with
14 and watching Bleach, and there's a character who's like, "Oh, look at all these chesty women," I was like, "Nice, Cone. I'm 14 in my mentality too. I can buy this." Right now, I'm like, "Dude, seriously, this is not what I want to show."
You're
So
over
maybe
it.
it's not applying to my generation, or
Yeah.
my
Grown-up sensibilities.
Sure, that's not what I was trying to say, but sure. It's not being sold to me, I guess. But yeah.
You're not its target market.
So, still on subject of quirks, I like Midoriya's quirk.
Wait, let's go faves like we were planning
Or
on.
fave quirks.
So like, sure, let's do fave quirks first.
Okay, and I can still talk about what I was trying to say.
Are we only doing kid quirk right now or overall?
Oh yeah, so let's talk about I think quirks is fine for everybody.
Okay.
Unless you have, give me a couple. Tell me what you like about these quirks.
Well, because they kind of go into my favorite people too. They kind of overlap.
Let's just gel it, dude.
Well, so let's do fave 1A girl.
Oh, just favorite girl?
Yeah, 1A girl.
Okay, so
Because I was told by you to pick a fave 1A, and I picked one girl, one boy.
So for me, for the girl, it's kind of hard to decide. It's either for my favorite,
I have one definitive.
Uraraka, or
Classic Elliott.
I like her. She's fun.
Yeah.
Or Froppy.
I bet you think.
Quit making me weird, okay? Or Froppy.
Mine's Froppy.
I think I
said that in our Cuphead video too.
I think I like Uraraka because more than Froppy a little bit because
She's empty inside.
She's not empty inside. Froppy's empty inside in the way they count. Froppy just sits there. I'm great at teamwork and I've got zero backstory. I think
she's so good at teamwork.
She's great at teamwork. I just said that. But there's no substance. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have. I like Froppy a lot. I think that she's a non-complex character at this point. She just wants to be a good hero, and that's fine. And I think eventually we'll get more of a backstory, but at this point I don't really... She tries hard. I like Froppy as a character, but she's not as interesting to me as Uraraka. I like Uraraka because I think that she's smart, which is cool. And I think she's not just like a useless side character like a lot of females in like a lot of main leads in everything, but not specifically anime are. She's not a Sakura. And I think that her and Midoriya have a cute relationship budding, and I don't think it's forced. I think that
it's not forced.
No, I think they actually have personalities that fit together. You know, I think that they spend a lot of time. I think that she admires.
They're both just nice people.
Well, yeah, but I it talks about how often she admires the fact that that he tries so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think
that's something that bothers me about her, which is probably why she's not getting my number one spot, because I do really like her power. That I just don't care for her complaining all of the time.
Is she complaining all the time? What?
Like, whenever they're doing anything, she's always like, oh, I can't do good at this. And like, oh, and she is developing a lot more into, oh, like, I hated last time that she was like, oh, what would he do? You know, what would
but that doesn't feel like
Deku do?
But that
and it feels like gotta defer to him, you know.
Okay.
And I hate that. And like before that, even during like the Olympic thing, she was like, oh, I'm gonna do so bad at this, and she was like very self-doubting. I didn't like that.
So
and she like lost at one point, and she was like crying super hard about it, and
when she lost,
like calling her dad about it and stuff.
Okay, wait a second. I would like to.
And it's fine. I appreciate that. That's a real reaction that a person would have, but I just don't.
I took all the things you said in a very different way. I feel like when she says, "Oh, what would Deku do?" It's very much like, you know, not like, "Oh, what would my boyfriend do in this situation?" I can't think for myself. It's that
That's
Izuku.
how I took it.
But see, Izuku has really cool personality traits. He's clever. He's always thinking about what to do next. He's like a good strategizer, and he's
very analytical.
And he busts his ass.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a hero, and that's one of the things I talk about at the beginning. He has the heart of a hero.
Yeah.
And so
her whole arc has been, I can't think for myself.
I don't think it has been that at all.
That's why I said for me.
Okay, well,
because I knew you wouldn't think that.
Well, anyway, I think that. So I think the Sakura example is a good thing. In the beginning, what's Sakura's whole mentality? Sasuke.
Yeah.
She's devoted to Sasuke because Sasuke's cool. Because he's a dick. and she just wants to be there for him. She wants Sasuke to love her. She literally chooses to be this role of, I'm a woman and I need to be devoted.
And she's not that bad.
So I understand. Yeah, I understand how they take a similar role, and then like the fact that she's not self-doubting in that fact that she's like getting depressed and bummed and I can't do it. She, it doesn't feel, I can't see her having a moment where she's like Hinata and Sakura, where she's being like I can be possible. I can possibly help people. I can actually do something important. What? There's not that realization for her, because I think she's aware of her powers and her limitations. She doesn't have a very combat heavy power, and yet they still put her against Bakugo, and she still does a really good job against him. I mean, she's about to kill him, like, with all that shit falling on him. I think that she takes a moment to doubt herself realistically, like, holy shit, I've got some limitations here. But I don't ever see her sitting there and getting really down about it. You know what I mean? I feel like she's written realistically. And then I think when she loses and she calls her dad and she's crying, that's like, it was big for all these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like their debut and stuff like that. So I think that she's pretty coolly written. And again, she's a secondary character.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Because I get what you're saying. I think that they can give more time for everybody.
So I really like Froppy because she's seen... No. Not at all. I don't even really like her power. She's seen as like a strong, independent, analytical, smart.
She's very capable.
She's very capable. I love that about her, and I think that that's probably why I like her, because I don't really like her power. I think that the Momo, like making stuff out of your skin, really cool. Being able to touch stuff and have it not respond to gravity, cool.
Mm-hmm. Being a frog. Kind of lame.
And like there are other girls in the class that I think that this is the crux of it, that everyone who says no I can't is someone that I don't like. So Momo's very self-doubting in the last episode that we saw of her, not the last one, but the one where she was like having backstory. And that makes sense for her.
But I got how it's
gravity, the same thing. It is and like being like a woman and like living the life that I have, like
with your quirk and all that.
Yeah, with my quirk. I not that I've had like huge tragedies or anything, but the way that women are represented in media and stuff, I like seeing the strong people that are more like the people that I know.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I think that...
And that I am.
It's cool
I'm not just going to bitch around and say why I can't,
Yeah, I mean, I think that they have to toe the line between being a character that's kind of...
That wasn't like bitch woman. It was like bitch like complain.
Yeah, well, maybe they didn't. Nice. Yeah, I think that... I get what you're saying, and I also understand why you like Froppy, in that she is a simple character, but not simple in, like, boring. Mm-hmm. Simple in that she's not... overly dramatic, and I think that's a role a lot of female characters have to take in media and stuff like that.
And I would like her to have more backstory and stuff, but at the same time I don't, because I'm worried that they're gonna write her in a way where it's like
my dad's dead, or like this whole thing's terrible.
No,
or like,
just like something that's like classic woman of you.
Yeah, I mean, I think characters with weaknesses are more interesting. I also think the characters' weaknesses is very tropish, and I would say that Froppy's weakness really at this point is the fact that her quirk is not all that powerful. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it.
Even love, like, something that I love about this is that, like, going back to women portrayal in media, like, they are almost always shown to have a weakness. Men, not so much. And I like that a lot of these men, in fact, I would say all of these men have something that is wrong with them. And even, like, the most strong dude, All Might, we get to see his weakness.
Yeah, and he's got a very bad weakness.
Yeah,
he's like crippled.
Very bad weakness. Yeah. And it's just very cool. Like all of these, they're not. While they do some tropes, it's not like, okay, women are shitty and weak and men are really good and strong. They do a good job of equalizing everyone and making it be like, okay, these people are human.
Yeah, you're right. They make them feel like teenagers with superpowers. Yeah. Real teenagers of their respective gender, like presented properly.
Yeah, but I'm not saying with their respective gender either. I'm saying people.
But sure, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Because they all have strengths and they all have weaknesses.
I'm trying to say, I guess, that they don't present them stereotypically. Is most what I'm trying to say. Like stereotypes by the gender. Yeah. And I also like that they are also kind of have a little bit of that power fantasy hero. Like, sure, All Might has some serious issues. he can also destroy a city block with a punch if he wants to. And you get to see that Superman aspect of him, but he's not so Superman that you can throw him in the sun and he wouldn't die. He's not invincible, and that's awesome. I think. I think if they ever have a character that's powerful, that is that powerful, that for the time being can be kind of cool, because these characters are, they're mortal. They are mortal. Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Okay, favorite 1A boy. I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Todoroki.
I don't know.
Fire Ice guy.
Yeah, Todoroki. What do you like about him?
That he's really cool.
But he's also pretty hot.
Yeah. I like his quirk. It's like simple, but it's cool, and he's so powerful. I love seeing that he has like such good control over what he does. Like, he's clearly like one of the best people in his class by far, and it's really cool seeing him fight and stuff, and just like, here's a wall of ice.
He's also
NBD,
like skilled in like his decision making processes. Like, you never see him making like
I think for
he's mature.
The same reasons. Well, even kind of opposite reasons, though. So I think the main reason that I like him is because he has this familial struggle that we get to see, Yeah,
and like his circumstances for his powers are very cool.
I was pretty bitter about him once they kind of finished his arc, because his whole thing was, I don't want to follow in my dad's footsteps, so I'm not going to use fire, whatever. So then he ends up doing it, and then he ends up doing his internship under his dad. Like, that didn't make any sense to me.
See, now, I like that, because I think we already talked about this once, but it's worth going back into.
Like, he's mature enough to know, like, he doesn't have that power over
he doesn't.
me.
He's not pulling the classic angsty I
understand.
Thing. But I get what you're saying, too.
He's still my fave.
Do you think that they should have done a better job discussing his decision-making process for that? You think that they should have more clearly?
Especially having just come off of his arc.
That's true. But for me, I thought that the whole thing was, I'm not using my firepower because I hate my dad. And then the moment he decided to use his firepower thing, and then right after that, him and Endeavor have a discussion about like he's like, good job, and he's like, fuck you, basically. I still don't care about you. And I think Endeavor expected the fact that he's using his power, which is what a lot of people probably expected. It means that, oh, you've kind of given in. Whereas he's like, no, just because I'm using fire does not mean I think you're not a piece of shit. I just think that this is part of who I am, and I'm not letting you control this aspect of me. I like that part of his character. I mean, you too is what you're saying, but
yeah. Well, so I was saying that for the reasons I don't like the women are the reasons that I do like him. Like, I don't like them because they have too much weakness, but I like him because he shows weakness. Because it's very like opposite of how that gender is normally portrayed.
Yeah.
And that might not be like that. It wasn't like a conscious decision in my thinking of who's my fave. But thinking on it now, I'm saying like, oh, probably it's that. That's probably what attracts me to them, is that they're different from what I've seen in the past.
That makes sense. So for me, in most anime settings, the male characters are given plenty of backstory and sadness and stuff like that. It generally feels like the female characters are just like not even probably, depending on the genre, they are kind of underwritten, but that's not always the case. I mean, there's plenty of examples of. So my first thought is, like, look at a show like Gurren Lagann. The female character in the show, Yoko, is literally a body. She's like there to provide.
Is she a pleasure bot?
I mean, for the eyes, in the sense that that's what the show's presenting her.
Sad.
Sure. Which is interesting, because there's another show called Kill la Kill, made by the exact same studio and basically the same everything, and it's all about the main character is a female, and it's pretty progressive in the fact that they talk about like okay, so when you from a distance, the show is very like classic pervy anime, because the whole point of the show is you're stronger the less clothes you're wearing, and so she's wearing this really skimpy schoolgirl outfit that gets like skimpier and skimpier as she goes on. But the whole point of the show is that like you shouldn't be ashamed, you should accept yourself and stuff like that. And so the more nude you are, the more powerful you are, because you're able to fully be comfortable in your own skin. Basically, I don't know. It's got a better message essentially, and I think it's interesting that they went from one that had such poorly written female characters to another one that kind of turned the entire idea on its head, and still has like the classic tropey feels of that, but also does it in like a more intelligent way. And then there's others, and like Naruto has shitty female characters like across the board.
Yeah. Is that the show that you were telling me, like the guy just doesn't know how to write women? Like he said that
in Naruto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was that show or this show, because this feels like well written, and we've even you read all the ones that I did. We read some of the manga, and like I will say that it's different. Like, they do less in the manga. Like, in the anime, you get to see, like, a whole froppy thing that you don't at all in the manga.
Was that the, like, a boat situation?
Oh, okay. That wasn't in there. Unless they showed it later than when I stopped reading. Because the one that was out next wasn't
That's interesting. I wonder why they chose to do that in the anime. Do you think it's because she's been such a popular character? Or
I don't know. But they add, like, little things. Like, the whole, like, the best genus guy like brushing Bakugo's hair, that didn't happen in the manga either.
That's so funny.
And that was like a really funny scene, you know.
Yeah. It stayed like that for so long too.
Yeah, and I love it. I love the extra stuff that they put in, and I'm pretty sure that none of that has been in the manga, unless it's like just at random other parts that you don't see right away. But something that I thought maybe that was what you said about him, about not knowing how to write women, was that in the little mini scenes in between, where it's like, this is how this character is drawn or whatever. Like, he'll do, like, a woman, and it'll be like, oh, very erotic. Like with the earphone jack lady, he'll point at her earphone jack and be like, erotic, and like, oh, sexy pose or something. And then he'll do, like, a dude, and he's, like, a little bit worse drawn, and it'll be like, cool hair, sweet abs, or like it's not like everything about the girl has to be like labeled as something sexy. And I didn't love that reading it, but you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, again,
he's at least giving them like
depth of personality.
They're a person in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, it is just how manga is sold. It's the way it's purchased. You know, it's not.
I get it.
It's just not an issue in Japan.
Okay, what's your number one boy?
So again, pretty close, but not as close in this one. I like Bakugo.
Yeah,
so much.
You would.
So,
Elliott,
what do you mean?
Elliott's evil at heart.
No, but I really. So, okay, Bakugo is awesome for me because Bakugo is
the Tonka truck of heroes.
What?
He's like the fun, like rude one that you're playing with.
I don't know if I got that analogy or that metaphor.
He just feels like the Tonka truck. He's like kind of dumb.
He's not dumb. I know, whatever.
Kind of dumb.
So,
and you're just like playing with him, and he's just like the fun. He's like classically what I would expect like
a Tonka truck to
the boy to be drawn to.
But no, I think the Midoriya is the classic one you expect a boy to be drawn to.
Midoriya is the one I expect the classic anyone to be drawn to because he's the main character and he's written to be likable and empty.
He's not empty.
He's pretty empty.
What do you mean empty?
His only thing is, I would like to be a good hero.
And I grew up in a world where I was completely different than 99% of the population.
That was barely a part of his character though, because now he has that.
It's a huge part of his character. They talk about it. But he doesn't have that. Like, they mention all the time that, like, him having a quirk is not the same as everybody else having a quirk because he doesn't use it the same way everybody else does. And he's not comfortable with it. And his quirk injures him. He breaks his bones when he uses it.
Yeah, barely. I don't know. I think he's
You've been using empty a lot. No, empty. Empty character.
Kind of empty.
Anyway, Bakugo's my favorite because Bakugo plays that classic antagonist role of
Tonka truck.
Shut up. Of, you know, Naruto and Sasuke and like Ichigo and Uryu and like Goku and Jeets. And well, I think it's interesting, and I think that a lot of these characters are sometimes more interesting than the main character. In this show, I would say no. I actually like Midoriya just as much. I really do like Midoriya just as much as Bakugo. I think they're both cool characters, and I want to see more of Bakugo. I think that's one of the reasons I'm more interested in where he's going, because like I know Midoriya. I don't think Midoriya is ever gonna go evil. You know, I don't think Midoriya is ever gonna. I mean, I
don't see that.
Midoriya doesn't have that much more intrigue with me. I'm excited to see how his power grows and stuff like that, and the heroic feats he's gonna do. But I always know in every situation, Midoriya is going to sacrifice himself, save the day. That's his character, and that's cool. That's fine. At this point, I'm just excited to see him on his journey.
It would be cool if they like did kind of like the trolley like thought experiment with him. I don't remember.
Midoriya? No, I know what you're talking about. The thought experiment.
Where it's like he is this really crazy cool hero, but he has to choose between like saving Bakugo, like his oldest friend that he like will become close with over this school. I'm assuming this is when he's like an actual hero. And assuming that they get closer. I don't know why. Versus like 20 people or something. Like, what would the hero choose? Would he choose to be like selfish and like save his friend, or save 12 people.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they just, like, fucked his character over with, like, yeah, you're the best guy, and at heart, you're really good, but...
He's gonna have to have a serious existential crisis. I mean, that's one of the things that All Might says. Like, listen, you do not save everybody.
Yeah.
Even me, All Might does not save everybody, and that's kind of cool.
I just don't think he's... So what bothers me is that he seems stupid, that he's not...
Bakugo?
Yeah, that... No.
Midoriya.
Yeah. That he's not getting the whole, hey, I'm gonna die. Because All Might keeps dropping this, like, hint of, like, oh, you're gonna have to do this by yourself. And he's like, no, I'm not. You'll be here. And he's like, oh, sure.
I think that it's more of a... He literally can't conceive of that. Like, not literally can't, but, like, at this point, with the amount of... because it's not being thrust in front of his face, he's just kind of thinking, okay, you know, I'll never die one day. Like, you know how some people deal with their own death or the death of their parents, stuff like that? They just never think about it until it happens. I think that's kind of how he's thinking about All Might. Like, sure, I know on some level All Might will die, but he's All Might. You know, like they said, he views All Might as a god. It just feels like
you should think about that because he's telling you, like, oh my god, I'm really weak.
And I'm getting weaker and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm only getting worse. And
I think that...
And he even said, you're going to have to do this on your own.
I think that the fact that he's such an analytical character, Midoriya, and I think the fact that he generally thinks about this stuff so deeply and he's not thinking about it All Might is not an oversight in writing. I think it's a part of his character. I think that he...
I never said it was an oversight in writing. I just said it was something that I don't like about it.
Oh yeah, well, okay, so that makes sense, I guess. But do you like it? Do you like it because it seems like he's being stupid?
Not everything that bothers me is an oversight in writing.
Well, I guess that makes sense. But do you not like it because you said it feels like stupid of him? Like, why can't you figure this out? Yeah, because okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying. So back to Bakugo.
Yes.
I like Bakugo because he is a class. You know, he plays that second character archetype, which again he's very strong, and then it's becoming the point where he's not as strong as the main character, and he's mad about that. But you know, it's interesting. He reminds me a little bit of Guts from Berserk, whereas Guts, for a huge portion of his character arc, just doesn't care. He has one goal in mind, and it's kind of like just to survive. And where Bakugo has one goal in mind, it's to win, you know. And these characters make poor decisions and do it at the disadvantage of someone else, and they only get by based on sheer skill or you know, whatever. And I think that I'm excited to see how Bakugo does handle, because at some point Bakugo is going to have to make bonds. He's going to have to, you know, unalienate himself, and I think, or he'll go villain. But I really don't think he's going to go pure villain. I don't know. I think
it's just like the way it's going, with foreshadowing and
yeah
stuff.
But I think I'm hoping that a show that just feels like it's written pretty well isn't going to go that exact, or maybe it will. I mean, I'll be okay with either of those, you know. I at this point I don't see Bakugo having those right motivations, because he wants to win, he still wants to be a hero. That's pretty clear to me. He reminds me a lot of Endeavor in the fact that he wants to...
yeah, you've talked about that.
Yeah, so...
You presented it as if, you know, oh, this is a new idea.
Whatever. He wants to be a lot like Endeavor, you know, or he wants to be like... He wants to be the best, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting, too. But again, his motivations never indicate that he's going to be a villain, you know?
No, just his temperament.
But his temperament is violent and rash, but I don't see it as being villainous, ever.
Ever? The first thing you said to me was, well, this is clearly going to turn out to be the villain.
And thinking about it now, I don't think that. You can be an antagonist.
But you said ever. It never came off to you like that. You just said.
Well, I didn't mean like that. I don't think that the way he's written right now, his motivations, he will take that path.
I think that they're going more on the, like everyone's starting to realize, like, oh shit, he does kind of seem like that. So, the teachers are now starting to step in and, like, give him talks about it and stuff like that.
Yeah, which I like that too. It's very much like, I don't know. And again, compared to somebody
I think it would be really cool if, like, the League of Villain people, came out and, like, because they're all about giving these speeches and stuff. I think it would be cool. He seems like he could be susceptible to some of their thinking. And I think it would be cool if they, like, came out, did, like, a speech, and then he, like, was very conflicted, and we got to see that kind of arc from him of, like, I do believe in what they're saying, but I know that I'm supposed to be a hero. Some cognitive dissonance
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see him struggle with those things.
Like, if he's going to be a villain, I want... Or even if he's not going to be a villain, like, he seems like he's going that way. If they showed him, like, struggling with, like, am I really good, you know? Am I a good person?
Yeah.
And that would be interesting, because that would be, like, kind of like a... Like, if they presented it right, it could be, like, a kind of, like, look at yourself audience kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'd like to see him have some responsibility thrust on him.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of back what you're saying too. I like how his character feels explosive in every aspect.
Yeah.
His design is his big spiky hair.
Mm-hmm.
His personality is, besides being just rash and like fuck you, is the response to everything is I'm gonna hit it harder. But it doesn't come from like a stupid mentality. He doesn't feel dumb. He just is so confident in his abilities. You know, that he's like, I'm just gonna do this. But like, you know, they hammer in all the time. He's powerful, but he's also very skilled. You know, they talk about how well he uses his quirk. He uses it to like do different forms of propulsion and stuff like that. And again, I like how people's quirks can be negative to themselves too. Like he hurt himself in the last one. Midori hurts himself all the time. That's cool too.
And he like exploded his costume.
Yeah, that was fun. I like that.
Or All Might exploded his costume.
Yeah.
Something. I hate Midoriya's costume. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Sure.
It's kind of nice that, because didn't he like not submit one to the school because his mom bought him one of like one of his crappy drawings?
Yeah, and then she made it for him, and he was like, "Oh, too sweet. This is great." And then
he felt like he had to.
Yeah, well, I think he wanted it too.
He felt like he had to, but he was like, "I should do this because we don't have a lot of money, and my mom did this for me." You know?
Yeah, definitely. And then I like that too. That was awesome. And then I like the fact that they fix it. They're like, "Hey, we changed some stuff just real subtly. Don't worry about it." It looks a little bit less creepy after that. He never puts the hood on. I'm pretty into that. The hood freaks me out.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
But I think that's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek. Like Midoriya's kind of a weirdo.
Okay, last thing.
I have more things than one.
No, it's going so long.
That's okay. It's
it's late.
That's
We
a
have
shitty
so
excuse,
much.
then, yeah.
It's not. Okay, last thing. We have
Favorite
teacher.
Who has a
pro.
favorite quirk?
That's what I already said. Mom kind of went into it, and which is this coming up.
Okay, whatever. Who's your favorite teacher, Kenya?
The normal teacher.
Where's your favorite pro? I guess.
Yeah.
You like?
I like the guy who cancels powers because I think that's cool of a quirk. But then I have a favorite 1B student too, so not the last thing.
So, yeah, I think he's pretty cool.
I don't understand though because his quirk's really cool, but what's with his tape? Like, is that a quirk?
No, it's just a skill. They talk a lot.
I just don't get it.
They make a big discussion about.
Because it feels supernatural in the way it moves.
I think it's that he can control like the dens. I mean, yeah, sure. He's basically a ninja character, you know. But yeah.
I think I like him. Sorry, I think I like him because he reminds me a lot of L too.
In what way? Because he's like kind of weird and mopey and stuff?
Kind of his personality, and then also just like the way he is. He's very like analytical.
Dude, I love me some L.
Yeah.
That was a cool character.
And very like he feels like mostly in the beginning I see this when he was like first testing the students out of like, oh, this guy's gonna be this guy, and oh, I'm gonna kick people out. Like he seems like a hard ass like analytical dude.
Yeah, but he's still a good guy too.
Yeah.
I like how. And
I think he kind of looks like him, like dark eyes, like dark circles under eyes.
Kind of weird.
Stuff.
He's always like sitting around weird and stuff like that. Yeah, I get that. I like how
not like it looks like him, but
and the Spectre teacher. Do you know what I'm talking about? The one who's got he's the one who's got the weird fangs. He looks like a demon basically. He's fighting Froppy and Shadow guy in their last exams. He can teleport. Ectoplasm. He makes a bunch of clones of himself and he gets really big.
I just can't picture.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They both have very dark character designs. I think it's cool because they look very villainous and they're not.
Yeah.
That's fun. I think I like the fact that they can have these guys who look classically like douchey, or not douchey, but evil be not evil. I think that's fun.
And people who aren't like just like happy to be here as characters, like All Might. Like I smile through everything.
Yeah, you see these characters are presented as
not
like,
as
I'm
characters,
a hero.
as heroes.
Yeah, I'm a hero who's not a hero, because I think it's important, or whatever reason they do so. I agree. I think my favorite.
I wish that we would see more of that kind of like opposition on the villain side, because everyone who shows up as a villain seems like, okay, yeah, you make sense as a villain.
Yeah. So I want to talk more about the villains, I guess, a little bit. Because I think it's interesting that we get somebody like Iraqi, who's the hand guy.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm evil to be evil, and he's like not compelling, not interesting as a character to me.
Yeah. So like me, kind of too. I wish I knew more about his quirk, but also I think this show is like holding back the show of like, we're gonna give you just enough. Like, oh, this guy's this guy's a guy and he's evil, but we won't tell you what his quirk is, and this guy's a guy and he's evil, but we're not gonna really tell you his motivations.
I like keeping the villains mysterious.
Yeah, well, it gives them more time for the show too, just like
other character development stuff like that.
To develop, and
I love the pacing of the show overall.
Yeah, I like it too. And just like, what am I trying to say? Keeping you on your toes, like keeping you guessing and stuff.
You're interested too.
Yeah, interested.
Yeah, but what I was saying is I like how, you know, he's presented as like, oh, I'm a classic evil mad scientist guy who's like whatever, and then he's got the weird gas guy who's like, oh, I'm your classic handler, but I'm also kind of boring. And then they have the Nomus who are just like, I'm kind of this face, a creepy monster, and then they even have the one for all for one, the big bad guy in the background who's like controlling everything, but they all feel very tropish. Yeah. And then there's Stain.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things they say in the show is, you know, wow, how come everybody cares about Stain more than us? And I think that's because, as intended, Stain is written better. Stain is a cool character. Stain doesn't have a crazy overpowered ability. Stain's just really good, you know?
You know what Stain reminds me of? The villain from Spider-Man Homecoming. Like the classic, like, yes, you're a bad guy, but I understand why you would identify.
And that's something that's very important for villains. I want to...
And that's why he became so popular. Like, even in the last episode, they showed, like, they're selling, like, Stain garb now for, like, kids.
Exactly, which I think is super cool, too. I love the fact that they have, like, this... I like the fact that the heroes and the villains have an effect on, like, real-life sales and stuff like that, too. Like, there's All Might figurines, and that's awesome. Because it feels real. It's how people would handle that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that Stain is a great foil to this thing. He's compelling, he's creepy and powerful and cool, and he's great to handle with the kids too, because like at the skill level the kids are at, it's perfect. Stain's perfect for that. Whereas if All Might or Endeavor showed up, they could easily kill him. I mean, they could easily fucking kill him. Yeah. Or like I can't forget his name, but even the guy from 1A, the homeroom teacher, he could probably easily take him out too, you know? And so that's cool, because Stain was like this perfect middle ground between like, you know, and he's like an assassin, he's a lone hit. He can take one person one-on-one really well, but yeah, and so I just think that the fact that they gave him such clear motivations, when at this point it seemed like the villains were very tropish, it shows that they were intentionally tropish and that they had...
I'm glad that they're getting more villains and stuff too, because I don't really have a favorite. I was trying to say famous. Whatever. Villain. Because like even when they first introduced the villains, it's like, okay, the two ones that are staying alive here or staying with the group here, you don't get to know what they do, you know? And like you kind of, I guess, know what the shadowy dude does, but
well, you know what both of them do now.
Not really.
Like Iraqi disintegrates things.
He said that, but I've never seen it.
Yes, he's done it.
When?
Multiple times.
No.
Yes. I was wondering when you said that earlier. You don't know. I'm like at first you don't know.
Oh, shoot.
And then Portal Guy. But yeah, I think that's cool too. They just introduced 2 new villains. I don't know their quirks. I think I
just always feel like there's something more, you know? Yeah. Like, even the Portal Guy, like, I've seen that 1,000 times. I just always feel like he's hiding something else.
I think that maybe works to their advantage in some degree, keeps you interested, but I think that if they don't have more of them, then it's kind of boring when that realization comes.
Well, I kind of already realized that because I know that they only have one quirk.
Do you? They already established that All for One can give quirks to people.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but they said that it kills a lot of people when it doesn't.
Okay, but that doesn't mean it kills everybody.
That's true.
Like Nomus.
I don't know, whatever.
Nomus, bro. So my favorite pro hero.
You already said that.
Who?
Didn't you say the teacher?
Which teacher?
That fought against the bird guy.
No, I just said I liked his design.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then tell me.
Guts is All Might. I just like All Might.
Yeah, you would. Tonka truck, Elliott.
What the fuck is this Tonka truck going on? Man, Slinky Elliott. One of the classic children's toys. I think I like All Might the most. You know, because it feels like a realistic representation of the Superman. You know, he's this insanely powerful guy who has interesting, you know, you literally get to see both sides of him. You know, his Clark Kent is an actually weak person.
Yeah.
You know,
that's kind of a cool way to think about it.
Yeah, because Clark Kent is just fucking Superman in a costume, and All Might is Toshinori, not All Might.
It's weird that you describe it that way because like Superman's the one wearing the costume.
Is it though?
Exactly.
That's something I talk about Batman a lot too. There's many scenes where people are like once Wonder Woman ropes Batman and her troop. Her rope is like a rope of truth that makes people do. And she says like, "What's your name?" And he says Batman, because it shows that on the inside he feels more like Batman than he is Bruce Wayne.
That would be like an interesting thing to like be like an allegory for like trans.
Yeah, that would be interesting too.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Like, sure, you're getting in costume and you're changing yourself, but this is who you really feel like you are. And that's interesting too,
like rope of truth, like a trans person, and they'll be like, "Oh,
what gender are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't.
That it feels like
that is cool.
like the same.
I wonder if
there's
people who are into that comic and see that allegory and they can believe that Batman really believes he's Batman and is Batman, but they can't.
Like,
believe
you are Batman on the inside.
Yeah.
We've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race.
We have been watching.
It reminds me of who's the one that we liked from? We're on
Tatiana Raven.
Tatiana. I think I watched this episode without you. She was like they asked her if she felt more like a girl or like a queen, and she was like more like a girl
when she's drag.
Mm-hmm. And then one Jujubee was like, she needs to get cultured because some of us are just doing this as like a performance. Like, I don't feel like a girl at all. I just feel like I'm performing.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
But yeah, I think that's why I like All Might, because All Might has this duality to him that feels interesting. And, you know, again, he's not super complicated. I mean, I think his power is, you know, I like seeing this tropish, big, brash American guy. I think that's kind of fun. And he's not a dick. You know, All Might's a nice guy. You know, can we just go back to how, I know this is way in the beginning, I loved Midoriya's Deku's whole training montage, too. I like that they spent 6 months of him actually fucking getting buff.
That's what I was kind of talking about with, like, realistic body. Like, yeah, he starts out very scrawny, and then the muscles that he gets make sense for his body.
As a 15-year-old does, exactly right. He's not rippling muscles. You know,
but, like, for someone who's been training and stuff,
pushing washers and dryers around and shit.
That makes sense for how your body would look at that age with the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, and I also like when they showed a flashback to All Might when he was training with Gran Torino. He looked fit, but not like ridiculously swollen or like that. You know what I mean? I thought that was cool too.
I think it's really cool because like a lot of guys like that age have like very bad body issues and stuff. Like there were a lot of people in my high school who would like take steroids and stuff because they were like, I don't look like this person even though I'm doing the stuff that they're doing. But it's like you're not that like age yet. Like some things come with age and like growth in your body.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Like you're not gonna get like Arnold Schwarzenegger muscles at 14. You're just not.
You do not have the testosterone protein to handle it. Yeah, exactly. And I remember growing up reading Bleach and thinking like, wow, obviously I understand that these are not realistic depictions of teenagers, but there's also part of my teenage brain who's like, man, I wish I looked like that. You know. And whereas this show, I mean, obviously Midoriya.
Wait 10 years, then try again.
Well, sure. And obviously Midoriya in the show is fit, but it's also not like I'm naturally really buff kid. It's like I sat here and spent 6 months, and you see him working out all the time. He's always doing the hand weight things. You know, it
reminds me of beard hair. Like, young boys are like, oh, why can't I grow a beard? And like some of them like randomly might be able to. You know, that's the thing. You know, some people are extra buff when they're young, whatever. But then like you hear all these people with like really good beards saying like, oh yeah, my beard didn't like fully come in until I was in my late 20s.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're like. They like talk about like, yeah,
Mark
we're really
still
like
has
self-conscious about it. Yeah, like tons of people just don't grow a beard. It's not anything to do with whether or not you're a man.
It's got to do with how everything's presented.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like the fact we already said that Midoriya is realistically buff, but he's also very fit. You know what I mean? It feels cool that he's strong in a realistic way. Strong in the real way.
Beard seems like a very rude thing to shame guys for. Like, oh, you can't grow a beard, because like it's one thing to say like. Oh, you're not buff. Like, you can control that. You can lift weights.
I mean, sure. I suppose so. But, like, I think for somebody like...
You can't just will yourself to grow a beard.
Look at somebody like Trevor.
Yes.
Trevor has tried to gain weight. Really hard. Has tried to gain weight. He has. I've seen him. I've seen the guy eat. Okay. And it's hard.
Yeah, but, like, has he done, like, things that are proven to get you to gain weight? Like, not just, hey, I'm going to eat a little bit more?
Eat a lot more. Yeah, but, like... No, he's not taking protein shakes, stuff like that. But he's exercised before, and he's tried. I mean, Trevor has tried to bulk in the classic sense, and his body just takes food.
For how long though?
I mean, for a couple of years in high school, like from junior to senior year, he seriously tried.
It just feels like maybe he would have given up after like a week.
He got muscle growth. I saw it. I mean, he actually had like much more pronounced like biceps and stuff like that. But his body just did not respond to the actual gaining weight aspect of it. You know what I mean? He just got like stringier in some parts. And
Funny.
so I think that like the whole buff thing is not that realistically attainable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like
yeah, definitely. I understand that.
But I get what you're saying too.
But like that's something that you could
sort of
do something about.
Yeah, whereas beard, it's like you can. I mean, you can, but there's like it's not healthy. Like you're not gonna put fucking Bosley on your face.
Bosley?
Isn't that the hair growth formula?
Rogan?
I think Bosley's too. So we're almost done, but I want to talk about. Oh, you want me to do my favorite 1B person, or you want to?
Oh yeah, my favorite 1B person is the guy who, like if you answer his question or something, or if you talk back to him or something like that, then he can control you and you have to do what he says and stuff.
Bosley.
Oh, cool.
I love him too. He's my favorite. I mean, he's the only one who's really gotten any character development in that class.
Well, the one like rude guy.
Yeah, what's his power again?
Being
he can
rude.
steal powers.
No.
I think he touches people and steals your power for a little bit.
Oh yeah, someone does that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I wish we got to see more of them.
Yeah, he's I love that mind guy too because he's like got that very classic like everybody thinks my power makes me a villain. It's basically used for evil purposes.
No, I think he goes into my whole thought of
1A?
I get to be in 1A, and that's what I think that he was trying to do. Wasn't that the whole thing, Elliott?
No, because I don't think so, Kenya. I think you're mistaken.
I just really don't think I am. And he was talking about like, oh, I need this and whatever.
You know what's nice? We can go get some annotations on this video later and tell about who's right. So he's my favorite too in 1B. I like his fun blue hair too, or purple hair. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't really remember what he looks like.
my favorite unique quirk, which is something I want to talk about, is Dark Shadow. The crow guy's thing. It's so fun. He has a cool sentient thing in his body that he can just like control, and it's stronger in the dark, and that's just all fun to me.
Yeah.
That's not really anything I want to get into crazy. I think it's fun design. Like it's not unheard of to have like a secret thing. But it feels like in a show like this where there's so many unique types of quirks. Like his quirk really exemplifies the fact that there can be any type of quirk.
Yeah. Because that's a very weird thing. Because it's its own like sentient.
He basically has like a spirit shadow attached to him. Yeah. And I love how he's a bird head. That's fun too. I told you this before. There's a fan art of everybody from 1A drawn as kitties, and then they've got their teacher who's just hanging out.
Is Froppy like a frog cat?
She's just green.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boring.
And then it's got him as a bird. It's like a little bird. And he's like mad on
well,
the shoulder.
why isn't she a frog?
She's not a frog. She's a person who's got frog features.
She's basically a frog.
Also, think about how many 1A characters that they're just like not ever using. We're talking about.
Yeah, tons.
Like Animal Guy. What
animal guy?
He can control animals.
What?
Just
the bug thing, and he was afraid of bugs.
Yeah, he's weird. He talks but can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then okay, so like going back to gag characters, you know the rock guy and the Tetsu guy, whose name just means steal, in the other class 1B. I like how they're the exact same character. That's so funny, and it's just. That's a good joke character because he's essentially.
They have like all kinds of. So I'm a little bit more on your side because what's his name? The one that you don't like, the grape guy. Yeah, he feels like only comedy, right? Whereas like everyone else, besides like Belly Guy, because he feels like only comedy too. There are several other characters where they are like provide comic relief, but it doesn't feel like forced. Like this guy, what would we say his name was? Ida.
Yeah, he's got some funny scenes too. He's always doing the hand thing.
Yeah, and he's always like, I'm responsible.
And then everybody's always ignoring him and stuff like that.
And I'm stressed about this. And I don't know. He's funny. And there's like just all kinds of characters like that have like little funny moments that they could just get away with only doing that, but they're choosing to have more.
I think a lot of the characters have some funny moments too. Like Deku's always doing his weird analysis thing where he's like, dude, chill out. And I think it would be cool if they did like decide to like they can't like just scrap it, but if it was like more of a show where if they all of a sudden tried to give Grape Guy and Belly Guy like a bunch of backstory so that they were having moments of comic relief with moments of seriousness like everyone else, because then doing that route, like adding this in after the fact feels too forced.
But they're adding in an after fact with every other person.
Yeah, but every other person is not presented as completely comic relief.
That's true. But I feel like it would be cool if a show could do it like just more realistically where like some people have funny moments, you know?
And there's class clowns and stuff like that.
That's true. That's true. Maybe he's just a class clown.
Yeah, but my thing is class clowns in TV do not get that much screen time.
What do you mean?
He compared to Belly Guy and compared to Lightning Bolt Guy, I forget his name, but he's always like frying himself and he's funny as hell too. A lot of the funny characters who are mostly joke characters or not like seriously whatever, they get humor levels of screen time, and then he gets much more dialogue than everybody else does. He's like their main joke character, and it's a joke I find in bad taste.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. And again, I have no issue with fan service in anime. It's just part of it, and I'm okay with it. It makes seeing a scantily clad person in anime, something like that, or like a gratuitous like panty shot or whatever, is weird, but it's not as weird as him saying, "You guys see this right now? Are you experiencing this with me?" It just brings it to real. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's a statement on the status of anime as a whole and like fan service. Also, the show has a pretty low amount of fan service, and I'm pretty happy about. I mean, again, they're kids, but many shows, Bleach, I'm looking at you, don't care.
You were literally looking at Bleach.
I have a bunch of over here. Yeah. So.
Okay, final thoughts on the show.
It's great.
Yes, out of 10.
10.
10?
I'm really into it. Yeah.
I would say at least a 9 for me.
From watching so many shows that are classic battle manga and have similar overarching feels to it, I think the show is doing a really good job keeping it interesting. I think that the underdog character is way cooler than most underdog characters, and I think that the villain, I think the show does a very good job. Also, I love the music. Just want to throw that out there. I've got a couple of the songs from it on like my YouTube playlist, and I listen to it all the time when I do homework and stuff.
So, as someone that hasn't seen as much anime, I also really like it. I'd say it's like at least 9 on my scale.
That's crazy for you.
Mm-hmm. And also, I happen to know that Holly of Holly Conrad, Commander Holly of
Ross
O'Donovan's wife. If you didn't know her before any of the other references I gave her,
Ross
because she's her own person. If you didn't know him
from his own
person. She didn't really watch anime before this, says Ross, because I didn't get this information from her, so.
Yeah, dude. You guys would be good friends, I feel.
You think?
She's nice.
Yeah, she is nice.
You're nice.
Thank you.
To most people.
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, Ross was saying that she doesn't really like anime, or not even doesn't really like, just hadn't watched it a lot, and she loves My Hero. So if you're not like that into anime, or you haven't gotten into anime,
very accessible anime.
It's a very accessible.
This is interesting too, because
and you know what, we watch it dubbed.
Yeah,
but they have it subbed too. And it's not all of it, but like a season and a half of it is on Hulu if you have that.
And it's mostly subbed, I think.
No, they have both.
Oh, that far?
Of like a season and a half, yeah. They're definitely not caught up, but
if you get Funimation.
We got Funimation.
Funimation now.
Yeah. They
have simulcasting, which means that basically a week or two. I think it's not immediately, but a period of time after it is released in Japan, much shorter than any anime dubbing.
It's like a week after, maybe 2 max.
It's released in America in English, and it's for someone who prefers dubs, I'm way into it. There's some shows that I can watch subs. There's some shows I prefer subs, but all over.
I always prefer dubs.
Yeah, I don't care about the reading, but I like being able to hear. I don't know. Like I like Naruto voices and.
I can understand. So for people that don't know Japanese or.
What do you mean?
Anything that is subbed where you don't know the other language, I understand not at all why you would prefer that.
You don't understand why they prefer subs?
I don't understand at all why you would prefer subs if you don't also know that language. Because, like, as someone who does know another language, who has to watch stuff subbed in that language, I can read it and listen at the same time, and I get the little nuances of the language that they're missing in the subs. So I'm understanding both at the same time, and I'm understanding, what they're leaving out, why they chose to make that translation, and like little things like that. Whereas like you're just choosing not to hear it in the language, you're choosing to read the whole time and like not be able to absorb all of the animation.
So okay, I have an alternative point for this, right? Because I've watched a lot of things in just subs. Gurren Lagann is a show that I watched in subs completely, and then I eventually started trying to watch it a second time in English. And I absolutely hated the voices. And when you start watching it, there's
because I understand that you get attached to like the voices and everything. That's not my
point I'm making. But I understand that when you go to when you're watching something and it's completely voiced differently, it's kind of a shock. Like, whoa, you have to adapt to it. That's not what I'm saying. I've done that before. It's fine. there is a character in there, and he is a very androgynous character presented. I think they say it's a male, but he's presented in a very feminine way. He's always like making the other guy characters uncomfortable and stuff like that, and it's very funny, I think. And he has the classic Japanese feminine voice, male feminine voice, like Orochimaru or something like that. And it's effective in the fact that even reading it, I get what they're saying about the character.
But I only know Orochimaru dubbed.
He sounds very similar in dub, actually. You know, he has like a very feminine voice, but it's also not necessarily a female's voice. It's kind of like right in that weird line. It's androgynous, essentially. In the English dub, he sounds like a very stereotypical, almost offensively gay person. Like, hey, like the very, very, very flamboyant, feminine, whatever. Which people talk like that, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But a lot of the nuance in the way they speak is completely changed, stuff like that. Like, look at Attack on Titan. I like the fact that when I watch it in Japanese, Mikasa sounded like a teenage girl, whereas when I watch it in English, she sounds like an adult woman. It's weird for me. I don't know. It felt jarring. Not the fact that the voices are different, the fact that they are presented a different way. And I think also, look at you hate the classic anime like voice and stuff like that, where somebody's like having a realization and their mouth's just open and they're making a bunch of random like gasping noises. That feels better in Japanese because they've got a lot of these, you know.
Yeah, they don't do that as much in the English ones.
No, they don't, but they still do sometimes, and it feels weird and out of place. Whereas in Japanese,
for me, it feels weird and out of place anyway. But I understand that that's a thing that they do there. Not in Japan. I don't know that Japanese people actually like just in the middle of conversation go, huh?
I think that they probably have lots of them.
Like, and they're just seeing society. Like, oh, cucumbers are on sale.
Like, oh, I don't know, maybe. We have verbal reactions that might sound stupid to other people.
Yeah, definitely. But it's just like very weird. Like for someone who like comes into anime, if you haven't like watched it at all, and you're just like used to your normal like whatever
the way people talk.
Yeah, the way people
and
talk.
Someone's like,
and then all of a sudden they're like having a dialogue. They're like, "Oh, I want coffee," and then just for 5 minutes, it's some other dude going, "Huh."
Okay, it sounds like someone's joking. I get what you're saying. It's I can't quit it. I get it. Right? It's not 5 minutes, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, and that can be pretty off-putting to somebody like that. But
and then you hear people like Trevor, real life Trevor, not that Trevor's implementing that into his everyday vernacular, and it's like, why are you doing this?
See, to me, that's perfectly normal to him. But that's. But listen, that's. Can you stop?
It's almost like Tim the Toolman Taylor. Yeah.
That was bad impersonation. I get what you're saying, and I request that you stop doing it because it makes me laugh a lot. Sure. I mean, I recognize that. You know, it is off-putting. But again, back to the fact that My Hero Academia is a pretty accessible show. Very few shows that are animes I consider like a good starter anime, and a lot of them are basically. This show can like step you down into an anime art style because the characters are not drawn in a classically realistic sense. And they've got some anime jokes and stuff like that, like a lot of visual gags, like Ida's hands and stuff like that. But it doesn't lay on the anime tropes too hard.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's not chibi facing that much in the background. I mean, they do still,
and
that's important. If you're gonna watch anime and you're trying to actually get into it, and you're doing a starter anime, you can't go to something like Death Note and then immediately to this, because Death Note is like one of those ones that I say you should maybe watch it because it's an animated format, but it's very un-anime.
Yeah.
You know, it's basically like a realistic crime story set in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's supernatural elements to it, but it's not presented in a way like what I think Full Metal also fits this well, because it's another show where there's like some tropey anime stuff and stuff like that, but it's also a pretty realistic. It's a story that to an American it would be comfortable. It would not be so. And again, one of the reasons I think people should watch anime is because they have stories that you just do not experience in American media.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and again, I'm a big fan of animation. I love watching things animated and cartoon and stuff like that. And they also have art styles and stuff like that you just don't see. It's influenced by a whole.
For me, I can't really tell the difference of like art styles.
You're
like
really bad at
you'll
that.
show me like a picture and you'll be like, oh, what does this look exactly like? And I have no idea.
You remember the other day when I completely called the artist?
You did, yeah. You have a better eye for it. I just don't. But I also like when I read like a comic or a manga.
You don't look at the art.
I look at the art, but it's not.
You don't
like
look at the
you
art.
spend every single box you spend like 10 minutes on. You like really. It's as if you are at a museum and you want to get your money's worth out of this museum.
Well, we were reading something. I think you were reading Full Metal, and you were talking about how you can never tell what's happening with the fight scenes because
because it's so different to look at a still image and see how they're moving than it is to watch it in
definitely
actual motion.
Because you're instead of watching like
and in the fact that it's in black and white and stuff, like some people have like tentacles and like there's smoke happening and they can create whatever they want. It's like there's a lot of pieces where why would I know where that was what that was?
Totally. I remember when I was a kid, I'd show my dad anime or manga or something like that, and he'd say like, is that the guy's like hair or is that his eyes? And like they're the fact that they're spiky and they're shaped differently, it looks foreign. He wasn't at the beginning
especially not like following it from like the very first pages of it where you get to know their shape and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. He actually had trouble recognizing it as a human, or at least it and that's interesting too. I'm big on art. I like art a lot. I'm not like classical or anything like that, but when I read manga or watch anime, it's basically half and half for me. And that's why when there's such great animated scenes that are so fluid too, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I think that if you were to read manga, they give you little tricks depending on how good the manga author is or artist is, to help you understand what's happening in the action. They give, like classic comics, they have like the lines when you punch and stuff like that, but there's more things. Like if you read it right, you can follow the flow of it. You can see that like a punch happens here, and in the same actual frame they have the character actually somewhere else, and you can kind of
sometimes
there's a good Super Eye Patch Wolf video about how Dragon Ball is really good at that. How it's framing. They talk about like you start here, you see here, and you see that you actually go through the fact that the character's dodging. This person's like, what I missed, and then like it's cool.
Yeah. I was disappointed when I first started reading manga because the first manga that I read was Kleine Katsuchi. Chi's Sweet Home.
Yeah, it's a basically slice of life comedy manga
and
about
it was
a kitten.
in color, and it was from left to right, and then I picked up like several more manga from different series, and they were all black and white,
and right to left.
Was right to left doesn't bother me, but they were all black and white, and it's so much easier not only to see what's happening if it's drawn well, but also if it's in color. Then you can just differentiate so many more things.
I don't think that, but I don't know. I mean, again, I've read black and white comics for my entire life, so it probably is a little bit easier for me.
Let's get back on track. My Hero Academia.
It's great, guys. Go watch it. All right. And honestly, weird recommendation. This may be just personal opinion. Don't read it. And this is not
I would also say don't read it.
This is not... Well, I mean, read it. Okay, check out the source material. I'm not saying like that. But don't read it for the reasons that... This is not really talking about how the source material, the manga, is lacking in any way.
No.
Just that the anime adaptation is very good. The voice acting...
And it has extra stuff. Like, extra nice little, like, tidbits that you don't get in the manga.
Yeah, instead of cutting,
it feels more fleshed out.
And a lot of anime does add stuff, but it's not filler. It's not. We're not saying that they have filler episodes, as far as I know.
I would maybe say that the Froppy episode's a little bit filler.
But it's also it didn't feel so fillery that it felt because like for me,
because at
filler
the time,
is inconsequential.
Yeah, well, and at the time they were also going over like what everyone else was kind of doing.
Yeah, so it almost be weird if it's like, hey, this popular character, what is? Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I would say don't read it just because I mean. If you're really ravenous about the story, like I am tempted to try to pick it up because I want to know what happens next.
Yeah, that's why I did it, And I liked it. I got the story out of it, but then like going back and watching it once the story was starting to come out again, I was like, oh wow, this it's so much better. And it's not that it's drawn worse or anything like that. It's just that
it's just a well animated show.
It's very well animated
and
it's very well voice acted, and they add in like just little tidbits that are just nice to watch.
For me, not even the addition. It's just it's one of those things where there's nothing lost, in my opinion, in the animation process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's in almost any case worth reading it or worth watching it. Again, it's slower. I don't think that they're gonna have another season until spring, like February. I think is when I read it was gonna be out, or April, the earliest, which is a while. But there's 2 seasons out right now, and they're both pretty long.
They basically caught up to where the manga was.
It's pretty close, yeah.
Like when they stopped, they were like maybe 1 volume away from it, so it makes sense that they're making a break happen.
Yeah. So if you're in anime and manga and you know something like Naruto or like Yu Yu Hakusho or something like that,
Check it out.
check this out. If you are not an anime,
check
and you,
it out. Great starter.
Yeah, especially if you like superhero stuff or
yeah.
If you were like, oh, what's anime about?
If you want to get into something a little bit different,
This show is very accessible.
Yeah, very accessible.
Cool. So what else do we have to say?
I think that's it for me.
All right, cool. Got a little rambly here and there.
Check us out on DorkDate on YouTube if
Which
you're
is probably
listening
where you're
to this
watching
on
this.
SoundCloud.
And if you're not,
got it there.
then if you're already on YouTube right now, whoa, in a couple seconds there's going to be some annotations.
Probably.
Check some other videos out.
We do Let's Plays.
We do podcasts.
And podcasts.
As I'm sure you're aware if you've gotten this far.
And if you want other stuff, tell us.
Yeah, so I don't know what our next podcast is going to be, do you? Off the top of your head? You just keep an eye out for the next one.
This was as far as we had planned.
Anyway,
surprise podcast.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you like what we do. And if you don't, tell us we suck and tell us how to improve.
Yes.
Because we are malleable. We'll catch you guys later.